Good morning, everybody. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I'm going to give everybody just a couple of seconds, minutes to come in. Happy Saturday morning to you. The weekend before the 4th of July, one of my favorite holidays of the year. Good morning, good morning, good morning. What's up, Ruben? What's up, Christopher? Good to see you. Good to see everybody. Let's do just a little game time check. Make sure we're on all the platforms all over the place. As you're coming in, just let me know where you're coming in from. Let everybody know who you are, what you do. This is a community for people doing business. Business, not thinking about it, not acting like it. They're actually doing business. Small, mid-sized companies, SMEs as we are known. This is our gathering place. And one of these times I'm going to actually clean my glasses before I start the show. Good morning, everybody. My wife, I'm going to have to talk about my coffee for just a second because my wife ended up getting this unbelievable creamer. It's got a little cinnamon in it. I think it's Forage, Forage, something like that. I'll get some kind of a promo thing because it is freaking delicious. L. Patrick Dickerson in the house. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Happy Saturday to everyone. Let's see. Looks like we are doing well. Who else we got here? Robert Brooker. Great to see you. All right. So, what is today about? What is today about? First off, let me kick off the show. My name is Jason Cisneros, and I am the chairman and the founder of a few businesses, but Anton J Global, and then Built to Exit, which is the strategies that I learned along the way. Obviously, you got to get good at building a business. We know how to do that. I've built and sold many businesses of my own. I am not. Hey, Bill. Good morning. I just want to keep saying. William Merchant in the house. Anyways, so I want to just let you know, we are doing business. I've bought, sold businesses myself. I got my ass kicked in the beginning. Went out of business. I had some failures, what we happen to call here in the Built to Exit community. We call that, not involuntary exits. Okay. The first premise of Built to Exit, right? Like the first rule of Fight Club is everybody exits. How matters. That's the premise of this show. That's the premise of the conversations that we have. It's the premise of an intellectual business owner who understands that you're not going to be here forever. So the very first shift in that is that you have to optimize. Obviously, take an assessment of where you are, and then you optimize what you have so that while you have it, it is spinning off the most cash flow possible. And then thirdly, you should really once it's optimized, you should start going into pre-exit prep, okay? Or exit prep. Regardless of whether you want to sell now, whether you want to sell in 20 years, whether you want to pass it off to the next generation, whatever it is, the wisest among us, and this took wisdom, I think, comes with getting your ass handed to you and your ass kicked in business and making bad decisions so that you can ultimately learn the right things to do. I had a blessing of getting my ass kicked in the beginning. I went bankrupt 3 times in a row. Those involuntary exits spurred me. It spurs you to do one of two things: either quit and go back to your 9 to 5, or getting a job and doing that normal thing that everybody else does. But as I've heard and as I've said here before, if you're a merchant, if you're an entrepreneur, you can't not be an entrepreneur. So eventually you get drawn back into the game, but you get drawn back into the game. Do you do things the same way? Think about where you are right now. The reason why you are probably watching my show is that you are in seeking mode, which is the most intelligent mode to be in, by the way. I am still in seeking mode. If you're still in growth, if you're not, sort of dying or retreating in life, you're always looking for ways to improve your game, because inherently, as an intellectual being, that you are where you are, bank account, relationships, happiness, vitality, health wise, you are where you are in large part because of the decisions that you make. This show and engaging with my family that we call the Built to Exit community, business owners, people that are working in a business and trying to improve that business. Think people that are getting ready to launch a business, little businesses that have just launched, businesses that are going to launch in a couple of years. It's that heart, that merchant heartbeat is what draws all of us together, okay? And you're here and seeking because you realize that you are where you are based on your best thinking. And for you to move to that next level, you have to improve your thinking. You have to add perspectives. You have to add information. You're looking for blueprint. You're looking for strategies. You're looking for processes and procedures. You're looking for somebody or a group of somebodies that you can trust. With AI and the world is the most distrustful that it's ever been, which is a good thing because it drives you to do the one thing that we tell you to do called due diligence. Check into where you're getting your information from. Don't just fall in love because they whipped up this magic brew, right? Their magic brew, and they went to a seminar and learned how to market and learned how to get into your fears and to activate your action modes, and they're stirring that brew. Don't fall for the magic brew, right? Take control of your decision making and do due diligence to say, let me take the emotion out. Emotion is necessary. I'm not saying become a cold iceberg. I'm saying it's necessary for you to utilize emotion for the fuel that's going to drive you to be a business owner. It is a very unique, very small portion of us who are entrepreneurs. Less than 10% of the entire world is what we call entrepreneurs or merchants. And you don't want to fall for that magic brew because people are really, really good at it. They're really good at it. You have to shut that off and go, okay, just even if it's for 10 minutes, before I end up learning something new, let me do a little bit of due diligence. Let me use logical thought process to say, if somebody has never done something, maybe I can follow them because they inspire me. I like them, but whatever. But as far as strategies for your business, you want to follow people. You want to follow people that have gotten some results, okay? LinkedIn, Google, like these are your friends for minimum due diligence. Before I ever do business with anybody these days, because I got into so much trouble with business partners in the past and got caught up in these emotional things, making decisions myself. Look, everything I talk about here is no judgment on anybody else because I have made all of these mistakes. It's the only reason that I can speak to them with authority is because I have been a bit dumber than you, okay? And you want to look for people that are a bit dumber than you that have actually figured these things out and then gotten to a place where you want to go. Now, you can do your own investigation of my life. I'm everywhere on the internet. You can go to LinkedIn. You could do all the stuff to do your research. And what you're going to find is somebody who figured out along the way, just like you, that my thinking was not always the best thinking. Now, what has happened is I systemized this stuff into thinking the best thinking from other people. I systemized it, and then I was able to add my distinctions over the last 20 years of being able to buy companies, assess where they are, optimize them for cash flow, and then build them into something that somebody wants to buy. So first time, involuntary exits, we try to avoid that. We don't want to fail. Second type is dictated when you sit across the table. Think about buying your first car. That person who you bought the car for sells 30 cars a month. You buy 14 in your lifetime, 15 in your lifetime maybe. They're better than you. They're going to kick your ass at the closing table. They're going to employ emotional decisions. They're going to use terms that you don't understand. It's the same thing when you go to sell your business. This particular episode, I built as a self-defense module for this concept, and we'll get into it here in just a second. You can see the title slide, which my team has been doing a beautiful job of. But we get caught up in this theme that says the greatest transfer of wealth is happening right underneath of you. There's over 10,000 baby boomers turning 65 for the next 20 years. Like, repetitive, right? Just repetitive and repetitive and repetitive and repetitive. And so all of a sudden you must believe that. Yes, baby boomers are aging out of owning businesses. They're looking to do other things. That doesn't mean there's a transfer of wealth, right? And so this particular episode should be sent out to anybody who owns a business, and also the baby boomers who are expecting to sell their business over the course of the next 5 to 10 years. This is going to be a massive, massive tool, right? This is going to be one of those secret weapons that they will have. Send this to everybody that you know so that they have that self-defense in mind, okay? So that dictated exit, you don't want to sit across the table from somebody who knows what they're doing and not be educated. If all you had was this episode that you're watching right now, you would be able to have a massive advantage over other people who haven't seen this episode, okay? And by the way, we also know that the people that are watching this, you just watch the marketing and whatnot of the gurus that are out there that are now all of a sudden merger, acquisition, scaling experts, whatever. You will hear my words coming out of their mouth and you'll see it in their marketing over the next couple of weeks. So you'll know where all of this stuff came from. So third part. The reason why, the path that you want to go down, once you go, okay, I don't want to have an involuntary exit. I don't want to have my exit dictated by somebody who's going to, my personal situation was I got paid half of what I should have gotten. And it took me 3 years to get my money. And I got my ass handed to me in that dictated exit. Then I was like, I don't want to do that anymore. Let me figure out how the big boys, the big girls at the table, how they do this and how they think and how they buy businesses. Hence, that started the custom tailored version of my career that I launched out. I sold a bunch of companies, most of my businesses back in 2019, and had a massive exit because I started planning it about 7 years before that and buying businesses and building them exactly how other people wanted to buy them. Okay, so we're going to get into that and we're going to have that conversation. And we're going to be, this is, again, I just want you to understand self-defense. If you have a mom or a dad that's up there in age and you're not going to take over their business and you see them going through this, I have been dealing with a lot of boomers getting taken advantage of on the flip side of this new, guru uprising of people who go to a weekend and pay, to learn to be acquisition masters overnight and buy businesses with no money down and blah, blah, blah. So the other side of this equation, not to say that they're bad people, because look, who blames them? If they can go in and buy a business, a cash flowing business that's been around for 30 years and they can absolutely bamboozle the owner into carrying all the debt and plus staying there to work and handing over all the stuff. Like, who wouldn't? That on their side, that is a smart approach. The problem with that approach is that the business owner's getting sucked into it going, you know what, I do want to exit this person. They're really cool. They're saying all the right words. They're telling me all the right things. So I'm going to go ahead and take this deal because what do I know? I've been a whole lifetime putting down carpet. I've been a whole lifetime putting roofs on buildings. I've been a whole lifetime putting in HVAC stuff. What do I know about buying and selling? What do I know about mergers and acquisition? Mergers and acquisition, that must be those Harvard-educated, fancy Wharton School of Business, all those people who are smarter than me. They must know this, and they're going to tell me, they're going to take care of me. No. Self-advocate, whether it's your health, you should be advocating for your health. You should be advocating for yourself with your business. And if you have the older parents, and if you have people in your life that you know are in that boomer range and are looking to eventually back out and sell their business, this episode is for them. It's for free, and they're going to get some unbelievable information. Okay, so here's the truth. Let's get kicked off on this premise. Number one, just so you know, it's everybody exits how it matters, okay? Everybody's going to exit. Nobody's taking this into the next life with them. It has to be passed over. Are you going to pass over a mess, or are you going to pass over a blessing? Are you going to pass over, are you going to enjoy that the end of your life? Are you going to die at your desk? Like, everybody exits. You got to stop and think about that. What is your outcome? What does your exit look like? And then on the other side of it, you're going to custom tailor. How are you going to custom tailor your exit? And you're going to start thinking about it. So one of the premises that I said in the beginning that we're talking about here is that everybody says that the greatest transfer of wealth is happening right underneath of our noses right now. Could be true, but isn't true. Could be true, but isn't true. Start with the idea. Okay, we're going to get into the systems but I want you to understand, if somebody's built a business, let's say that it's second generation, third generation, let's say that they've owned it for 20 or 30 years, a carpet store, okay? And I have a particular one in mind, actually, a carpet business that was started. It's done really, really well, provided a nice lifestyle. And now you're getting to the end of that career, and you want to sell that carpet store. And now you go, okay, I want to sell this thing. And you run into somebody, either A, and I'll get into some statistics here that are not Jason's opinion, they're real world statistics. But A, there's a very, very low likelihood that if you just decide one day and you go out through the traditional scenario, less than 7% of any business that's put on the marketplace ever sells. That means 93% are not selling because of the things that are going on. If you get told, oh, you got to go get yourself an investment banker, you got to get yourself a broker, you got to get yourself this, all of those things are true, but there's a missing component that all of those things that you're being taught to do are leading to years of preparation, getting your hopes up, and then watching them dash because 93% of the companies that are put on the marketplace never sell. Know that in your head, right? Just know that in your head. 93%, there's only 7%. So you doing this by yourself and following that traditional route that people are talking about, just like everybody that's telling you how to improve your business. 95% of companies go out of business. They don't see their 10th birthday. So the traditional route, all the gurus that are out there that are spouting bullshit, that have never really owned a successful business, that read a book about it somewhere, are giving bad advice. Businesses are failing at the same exact rate that they have for the last 50 years with all of these new gurus and all this new technology and all this other kind of stuff. Same thing on the sales side of your business. 7% sell. So what we want to do is we want to investigate the 7%. You want to model that. And the only way that happens is by following a specific strategy of how people buy the businesses in the first place. That's all we talk about. That was the lesson that I learned. All right. So greatest transfer of wealth. Now that carpet store, let's go back to Mr. Carpet Store owner, right? Mr. Carpet Store owner goes, yeah, well, I'm getting a little bit older. I'd kind of like to have somebody buy this business and take it out, blah, blah, blah. So you go down the traditional route. It's 5 years later and nobody buys the business. What happens to the value of a 30-year-old carpet business? What happens to it at the end of those 30 years? Nobody buys it. There's no transfer over to children or to the employees. What happens to the value of that business? It goes poof. It goes poof. Out it the lessons learned, the patterns learned, the relationships developed, the systems that were developed, the profitability, the money going back and forth. Now, do the homes still need carpet in them? Yeah, they do. But does that go to a larger conglomerate? Does it, where does that value go? It pretty much dissipates because the value, enterprise value, not cash value, right? A lot of businesses out there that are running on cash and they think, well, this is valuable. Okay, why don't you try not going to business, going to work for a month, and we'll see how valuable that business is. Why don't you ask around who wants to buy your business? And if nobody answers that call, I know people that have got pretty decent businesses just this week. Somebody put their business on the market 2 years ago, thought it was going to sell, hired a broker, did all of the things, and then ended up having to bring buyers to the table for themselves. And then those couple of buyers didn't buy anything 2 years later, still sitting on the table going, I'm going to sell my business someday, right? But at the end of that, all of that value just dissipates because you have a cash value. You're doing the work, you're making the thing, you're putting the carpet down on the floor, you're doing that stuff, but you haven't shifted over to this other side, which is buying or building enterprise value. How can I take myself off the table? We're going to go through all of this here in just a second. How can I take myself off the table? There's no enterprise value. And that is the big difference, right? If 1 in 13 businesses is selling, the difference between those, and even those 1 in 13 that are selling for terrible pricing, terrible terms, and terrible valuations. And most of those, 50% of those, are unwinding after the close. So let's get into this really quick so that we can talk about it. $84 trillion is the transfer of wealth that they're talking about. And there's 350,000 small businesses sell annually. A lot of those right now, I would say 30% of those are boomer businesses. And that's going to go up and up and up the older that they get. 12 million boomer-owned businesses in the United States. That's going to start to tick up, which is why everybody's out there pounding the drum. All of these fake gurus that have never really sold their own business, never really owned their own business, but they're now acquisition experts, right? They're so excited because they get to have train people on how to acquire a business by screwing the business owner. That's the business model, okay? 90% of the people that are out there, and there's some good people, right? There's some good people. There's people that are good at what they do. I'm not disparaging the whole M&A market. I'm not disparaging all brokers. I'm not, just most of them, okay? just most of them. And they know that that's going to be ticking up, and they know that they're going to be able to screw, lie, manipulate, and coerce boomers into just handing them their life's work for really no money down, a little bit of money. You know, if anybody in a business deal says you, the owner, has to carry it, whatever money that you get at the closing table, just count on that being the last money you see. That's mostly true. Okay, mostly true. There are exceptions. I always get people to comment, well, I got more money at and then my deal actually went through. I get it. You're the unicorn. I understand. 90% of people are not having that experience. Okay, so we have no buyer, no strategy, and no systems. And one of the biggest reasons, let's just kind of go through this, right? This isn't a wealth transfer. It's a fire sale. It's dissipation. It's like putting steam on a hot plate and it just goes psh. That's what's actually happening. And that value, if it doesn't get reabsorbed into a healthy small and mid-sized business owner environment, it gets absorbed by major corporations, unethical corporations who are doing unethical business, or it just dissipates completely, right? We don't want to see that value. I want to help do my part to make sure that when that energy transfers, when that value transfers, that it's going from a small to mid-sized business owner who's raised their family and paid for college and put a roof over their head and done that it transfers to the next generation, to that next person, so that we keep that liberty, right? That freedom, that the ability to live away from begging the government for a check or having to work for some unethical capitalist business that will dictate our time and how much time we can be sick and how much time we can spend with our family. This merchant of arena that we all live in, I am blessed by it. You are blessed by it. We need to keep it alive and have that transfer to the next generation of people who really do want to own a business, be important in their local communities, pay for their family, do those kind of things, and then have that go to the next generation. That's why we're here. That's why I talk about this stuff over and over and over again every single Saturday. So, 3 exit killers. Delusional valuations. I see this every single day. A business owner has a conversation with some dumbass that calls themselves a business broker or does business valuations or whatever it is, and again, there's good valuation. We have an incredible team of people that we work with that that we have developed relationships with over the last 20 years. But the most part, here's why they will overvalue your business or listen to you, the business owner, the one that's the worst at giving a valuation for your business, because you're emotionally tied, right? How you're emotionally tied to it, and you're going to go, well, my business is blah, 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 because of all these other things that don't matter. But the fastest way for somebody to delude you into utilizing them as a broker or an advisor at all is to overvalue your business, tell you it's worth more than it actually is. And the reason why is because that then goes ding, ding, ding in your head, and you start transferring all of your trust to somebody now who you go, they're going to get me, $10 million when your company is really only worth $3 million. For example, I've watched this happen 2 times this week, and it inflates your ego. And there's zero documentation, there's zero backup. There's about 7 different ways to value your business, and you kind of got to know it's more of an art than a science. By the way, there is no exact right way to value your business. I'll do a show on how to value your business. Maybe even next week I'll jump in here. But I want to for the boomers to understand that people are coming after your wealth, and they're going to try to steal it from you. Okay. We had one company just over the last few weeks came in, boomers trusted them. The people that took it over didn't know what they were doing. A simple Google would have said the people that are coming in here had no experience, have had some lawsuits in the past. They started selling, immediately took over the business, started selling all the assets, fired people, kept the contracts coming in, and blah, blah, blah. And now the company is bankrupt. 20 years of work, 20 years of putting their life on the line. Now that company that bought them is now bankrupt. And they didn't get all of the money that they were promised. Okay, this is a story. It's a story from this week, but it's a story that happens over and over and over again because people are getting taken advantage of. A delusional valuation is step number 1. Number 2, guru garbage. Do your damn due diligence. If you get screwed after hearing what I say, if you get screwed by not doing your due diligence on people, that's on you. You're going to learn a lesson, and hopefully that lesson will be valuable and not something that ruins you and your family. But you got to do your due diligence. Okay. Owner ego. This is a huge one. Owner ego is, I don't need to go through the process. I've got somebody that can do it cheaper. I've got a cousin or a nephew or whatever it is. And implying that if you've never sold a business, this is just from me to you. You can hate me or never talk to me or never follow us or never do business. But my job is to tell the truth on these podcasts so that somebody tells you to your face, right, that you don't know what you're doing. When it comes to selling your business, you don't know what you're doing. I didn't know what I was doing. Therefore, I got my ass kicked in these deals, right? You don't know what you're doing. So learn how to do it. It's easy, accessible. If all you had was this podcast, this was my outcome for this podcast. By the time we get done to the end of it, you'll have some rules to follow. You'll be way better off. Whether you hire us, whether you do business with us, whatever it is, you'll do better off. And that's what we need to have happen. I want your business to be able to transfer to somebody else that will keep small and mid-sized businesses alive for the rest of us to not be slaves to major corporations or to a centralized government. That's my whole thing, okay? But this owner ego is a big deal. It keeps you broke. There's a lot of businesses, like 90% of the businesses that we looked at and do look at, we could improve by 40 to 50% cash to the bottom line, all of them. But the owner thinks, oh, yeah, how do you know this business? Or how do you know that business? I hear this shit all the time. Well, it's like, why are we even talking then? Don't call me. Like, if you know more than me, don't call me. Just keep doing what you're doing, and good luck. Okay, good luck. But at the end of the day, and again, I know this because I had owner ego. I don't have any owner ego anymore. I have zero. We're in medical and cannabis and tech and all kinds of industries myself that my wife and I own these businesses. We're playing the same game that you are. And we have this business that helps business owners sell their companies for top amount of money, control price, timing, and terms. That's it. And if you don't want to use us, that's great. We're probably only going to help 600 people in the lifetime of our business in the first place. So you may not, most likely, you're probably not our customer. And most of it, I see owner ego all the time. And I know within 5 minutes of that phone call, this isn't going anywhere. They already know. How in the world do you help somebody that knows everything? You can't. Couldn't help me back in the day when I thought I knew everything. So less than 7%. Here's some of the facts, right? 7% of businesses, 40% of business owners plan to exit within the next 5 years. Think about that for a second. 40% of all business owners plan on exiting within the next 5 years, with a statistic of only 7% of those businesses selling and no formal exit plan. You can see how goofy this is. The math don't math. So here's what private equity firms, and I use private equity firms, guys and gals. I use them because they're, and I'm talking sort of like old school private equity. There's, where there used to be like 1,500 of 1,500, even 500 of those were really, really good. Now there's over 6,000 private equity firms, and everybody that works at McDonald's now is a mergers and acquisition expert. So they know how to merge buns with the patty and the special sauce, but they're not business. But everybody, those I mention private equity, and when I'm mentioning private equity, I'm talking about the smart ones, the ones that are good at what they do, the ones that have the track record, the ones that have the money to be able to do an ethical transaction with somebody like you who's building their business to be bought, right? That's who I'm talking about, and that's who you want to target for buying your business. And that's like the 10% of the private equity firms, or the roll-ups, or the business buyers, or the individuals. Like 10% of them are going to be the ones that you want to talk to and can execute the sale and purchase of your asset that you've been building with blood, sweat, tears, sacrifice, missed baseball games, fights with the spouse, not knowing how you were going to make your house payment, all of that kind of stuff. You want that transaction, which is super fragile, right? And very rare. You want to give it all of the opportunity to be as successful as it can possibly be. Clean books, operational systems, scalable systems, owner independence. Those 4 things, if that's all you did, and you go, pause, I'm not watching any more of this bald jerk off in his pink shirt and his necklace and his cool glasses. I'm not watching any more, but I got clean books, operational systems, scalable revenue, and owner independence. I'm good. Right there, you're now ahead of the game by about 90% of the people that are playing this game, okay? Here's the commandments. Here's game changer, right? Here's game changer. For everybody who watches this episode, for everybody that you send this episode to, for everybody that reads about this. And I know that there's people that don't know what they're doing that are watching my show so that they sound smarter. That's good. At least when you do copy me, at least you're copying me and you can start doing research into the things I'm talking about, so that possibly when you do cross paths to be able to buy a business, you don't screw anybody over, much less the business owner versus and also yourself. Okay? These are the things that you need to know. Now, here's the commandments, the built-in commandments from Jason GPT. None of this stuff. You can go to ChatGPT. There's a lot of things that you won't get from it, okay, in this realm. It's basically a fast retrieval deal. I love AI for a lot of reasons, but actually getting consulting for your business, it leaves out context. It leaves out the custom part of what you're looking for. It leaves out the knowledge base, the sequencing. There's a lot of stuff that AI cannot do in giving you your advice. Now, clarity of exit. All right, know your number. This is 101. Okay, when you decide, you have to come to two conclusions. Number one, that everybody exits. That's you and me, right? Everybody exits how it matters. So that's conclusion number one that you have to come to. If you haven't come to that conclusion, forget everything else that comes out of my mouth. Conclusion number two is that you have to get crystal clear on your exit. What is this asset called my business going to deliver for me? I'll jump to the end. I will tell you the word is freedom, but not this flaky bullshit freedom that everybody talks about. Freedom as in you have a very specific amount of money spinning off a very specific amount of return that is now targeted for very specific things that give you freedom, like a paid off house, like a vehicle, like amount of money that can get you by to 120 years old, like being able to pay your taxes for X amount of years that are putting your kids through college. These specific things, not this airy fairy, you got to have a dream and you got to go and we're on who's on the, no, very specific dollar amounts that pay for your freedom, right? They give you your freedom because you've done the work. Okay, that is your clarity of exit. Those are two conclusions you have to go to before anything I say is going to be of any value. So, clarity of exit, know your number, timeline, and what freedom means to you. We have a whole strategy. It's a couple of days to be able to get to your end game. But you don't have to come to our couple of day event. You don't have to go through that process. All you got to do is go, in order to pay off my house, I'd need, $500,000. In order for me to blah, 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 I'd have to have about $1 million in some kind of retirement thing and spinning off 10%. I'd have to have a couple of houses. I'd have blah, 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 blah. And you could come to the math. In the next 30 seconds, you could come to the math and say, oh, now all that does is it shifts the target from, I got to get a bigger house and I got to have a Lamborghini and I got to be flying in a private jet. It shifts the target for you to understand as the business owner that it's not about all that bullshit. You don't have to impress anybody because they don't like you anyway, okay? I hate to break it to you, but they don't like you anyway. So stop trying to impress people who don't like you and are fake and they're talking behind your back and all that other kind of shit anyway, and start putting the target where it needs to go. In other words, my machine called a business is now spinning off this money. Instead of trying to impress people with it, I'm going to throw $100,000, $200,000, blah, 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 into my freedom fund. And that becomes the target, is your exit. Clarity of exit, knowing what your freedom is. It's going to take me all day. Real valuation, get an unemotional third-party valuation assessment. I suggest getting 2 or 3 because there's 7, and come back next week because I've decided in my mind, and my team needs to remind me that I'm promising this. I will go over the 7 ways that I look at how to value a business. There's 7 different ways. I will do how to value your business next week. I'll do that next. Oh shoot, it's 4th of July. We may not be having a show next Saturday. Let me just double check really quick. Yeah, we're gonna do a show. I just may be in Fort Lauderdale. That's all. So anyway, we'll talk about the valuation next week so that you can have a formula of how to get that on your own. Fix your financials. 3 years of clean books, accrual accounting, no commingled accounts, and no cash accounting. Okay. 4, operational system, SOPs, dashboards, and a clear structure. Most people think they have an SOP. They don't have SOPs. We have a whole strategy around how to build SOPs that has been utilized in a multitude a multitude of businesses that we work for. Your operational systems need a clear structure and a dashboard to be able to measure what's going on. Strong team, replace yourself, replace yourself, replace yourself, replace yourself. And rule number 1, replace yourself. Rule number 2, replace yourself. Rule number 3, refer to 1 and 2. Replace yourself. If you are needed, you have zero valuation. You have zero enterprise value built into your business. A lot of people will say, yeah, I do, but you just consider it zero and you'll be better off. Okay. You don't have to listen to me, but just consider it a zero valuation for somebody to buy your business if you're necessary in the process. Recurring and predictable revenue. Figure out ways to make your revenue something that somebody wants to buy your business can count on being there once they buy your business. Otherwise, what are they investing in? Customer risk diversification. No one client should own more than 15% of your revenue. Legal and IP. Housekeeping. Get it in order. Clean contracts, clean trademarks, clean everything. Make sure it's tick-tack and tied. Due diligence, data room. This is something that we talk about in a lot. We have some really great solutions, but that's where we start, by the way. Number 9 is kind of where we start when we are working with anybody. We immediately fire up that data room. And data rooms, we have some more advanced stuff that helps, because your due diligence phase, the more that you have in there, the more that it's structured the way that PE firms look at data rooms in the first place, the more naming conventions that you have in there, the more things that you have built into your data room, the clearer it is, the shorter the time frame for due diligence is. The longer due diligence is on your business, the less likely you're going to get paid, the less likely the deal is going to happen. The shorter it is, the better for you. And also, the next one, number 10, is when you have competing buyers, you create competitive tension. Competitive tension means that you have more than one person looking at your business. If you only have one person come in and they're like, oh, only one of us, or there's only one of us looking at your business, they control pricing, timing, terms. If there's 4, if there's 6, if there's 8 people that are looking at your business that can look into that data room, and there's different levels of what's the word I'm looking for? It's right on the tip of my tongue. But there's different levels of the ability for them to be able to look at it, right? In the beginning, here, as you're doing their due diligence on you, you're doing your due diligence on them. Have they done this before? Have they been successful? Have you talked to somebody that they actually had a rough time with, or a deal that didn't go through, or a deal that fell apart? Do they have the money to be able to do they have a letter from the banker that they can afford to do the buy? Blah, 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 right? So you want to have competitive attention, or else you really aren't in control of the pricing, timing, and terms. So if you're not building your business to sell, you're building it to die. You're building that to just dissipate. You're not too late, but time is running out. You know, when you decide that you want to sell your business, it's usually forced upon you because you're exhausted, your marriage is falling apart, your health is falling apart, your relationship with your kids is falling apart, the economy is falling apart. These are the reasons why most people decide to sell, and it's too damn late. When one of those things is occurring, now you're under pressure, and not knowing what you're doing and being under pressure means you're going to make a bad decision, and usually you're going to get screwed and end up with nothing. Okay. I don't know what else to do but to tell you the truth. It's not about doom. It's about power. You need to have the power. You're the one that sacrificed. You're the one that risked. You're the one that put all of this stuff together. You should be the one that is advantaged by it. Stop building to stay busy and start building to exit. Look, last on this piece, because it's not on the slide. Okay. Stop thinking you're so smart. I cannot, and I don't mean this with any arrogance. I don't want to come across as a dick. I don't want to come across as an asshole, but I talk to business owners day in and day out, and it breaks my heart to know because they think they're so smart, because they think that they know their strategy, because they think that they've been that I know where they're going to end up, and the unnecessary stress, the unnecessary pain that they're going to go through by being smarter than everybody else in the room and being egotistical about their business. Yes, you should be proud of what you built, but you shouldn't have a sense of pride that closes down your ability to learn. Because ultimately, if you want to leave something good to your family, if you want to go discover what's great about this life, if you want to cash in on the extreme amount of work that you've put in, then you have to drop that idea that was built up falsely, necessarily, but falsely, that you have all the answers. I'm talking to myself. I'm talking to myself because I was that arrogant asshole. I went out of business 3 times. I got divorced. I ended up with, basically becoming, suicidal because I was so out of my mind with depression and all the other stuff that came along. I ruined my reputation. I ruined my name. I ruined my immediate future. And if it wasn't for people reaching out, mentors, Tony Robbins of the world, Keith Cunninghams of the world, those people believing in me and lifting me back up, I think I would have ended up a drunk, alcoholic mess who, whether I would have committed suicide or I just would have died slowly, it would have been because I thought I knew everything. That's not on this slide, but it is necessary for you to make really good decisions. And that doesn't mean your only smart decision is for you to do business with Jason and B2X team. It means do your due diligence. It means do the prep work. It means do the work. It doesn't, whether you use us or whether you don't, if you follow these principles, you're going to be better off. If you do business with somebody else who knows these principles and can help you follow them, God bless you both. I'm cheering for you. We don't have the ability to help everybody. We only have the ability to help over the next 5 years about 600 people. So 90% of you watching this are not my customer anyway, right? So go find somebody that aligns with you. Go find somebody that knows these principles, or you tell them to watch this episode and follow this stuff so that they can guide you down the right path so you and your family can cash in on all of that sacrifice that you put in, okay? Readiness assessment. Commandment number 2, learn in order to start this journey. Okay, in order to start this journey, you've got to get a very solid assessment of where you are. BuiltToExit.biz/get started. We have a free, it's going to be behind a paywall here very shortly, my team is telling me. But for right now, it's free. You can go get an assessment of where your business is. Take that assessment, schedule an appointment with one of our strategists, or take that assessment and go to the person who you've bonded with that is going to help you through this process, or just use it so that you know where you're at and where your next step is going. So go there, come with it, come here, hang out with us. I will tell you that immediately after this live presentation, we jump over onto Twitter and we do a Spaces. And you can find it by going to @TheJCisneros on Twitter, x.com now. And then look for the post that says B2X After Party. And then the title will be in there. But B2X After Party is a live where a bunch of us go there. We have conversations. We talk about the challenges that we had during the week. We have real business owners saying, here's what I did with the information. I have a question about the information. Just a really, really cool place with really cool people who are real business owners who have done real work with us or just followed the program and they're making modifications in their businesses. A lot of them are doing business with each other. A lot of them are doing mentoring with each other. They just come there and meet these people. They're unbelievable. That's on Twitter @TheJCisneros. Immediately after these shows, you can come and join us live for a cool information extension of what we're talking about here. All right, that is it. Go to builttoexit.biz. If you want to email us, it's info@builttoexit.biz. We have 30 plus people on our team and it's growing We have several certified strategists that know that I have personally trained on how to do this stuff. We have a lot of help and a lot of resources. You can go to YouTube and just go back through the library of things that we've talked about. Just join the community. Like, there's no commitment. You don't have to worry about your wallet. It's just at the end of the day, educate yourself so that you have total and complete control over pricing, timing, and terms. So for those of us at Built to Exit, my team, are all of the people that work with us, those of you that have been loyal followers, people that we've helped exit, people that are going through the training and the exit for their own business right now. Thank you for your time and thank you for your trust most of all. We appreciate you showing up on Saturday and for sharing the show. It's growing. I think we had on Twitter last week, I think we were somewhere around 8,000 people watch the show. That's amazing to me. I am unbelievably humbled and so excited that this is growing. Okay. That's it. So give me a couple minutes. We're going to jump over to Twitter. We're going to have a great conversation. And for those of you, just come back. If you can't get over there, come back next week, 9 a.m. There may be, I'm taking a little bit of a risk having it be 4th of July and doing it on Saturday. We may take next Saturday off. Just kind of look on the socials and we'll let you know whether we're doing it or we're going to skip a week, because I want it to be a great show for us to talk about valuations and how you value so that you understand what you're doing. Okay. Have an amazing week. Love y'all. And we'll talk to you very soon. See you over on Twitter. I'm Jason Cisneros for Built to Exit. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing the show. God bless. Peace.